The stars looked different in the year 2287. They seemed brighter somehow, as if the universe had opened its arms to welcome humanity into the vast darkness. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Meridian, watching the endless field of space through the main viewing screen. His ship was small compared to the massive battle cruisers that protected Earth, but it was fast and well-armed enough to handle most threats in the Outer Rim territories. Jake had been commanding the Meridian for 3 years now. His crew knew him as a fair man who listened to their ideas and never asked them to do anything he would not do himself. At 35, he was young for a commander, but his quick thinking and calm nature under pressure had earned him the respect of both his superiors and his crew. "Sir, we are approaching the Kepler 442 system," announced Ensign Lisa Brown from her position at the communications console. She was barely 22, fresh out of the academy, but she had proven herself to be excellent at her job. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panels as she monitored all incoming signals from nearby space. "Good work, Lisa," Jake replied. "Any signs of activity in the system?" Lieutenant Amy Carter looked up from her tactical station. She was a few years older than Lisa, with sharp eyes that missed nothing when it came to potential threats. "Sensors are showing normal traffic patterns, sir. 3 mining ships are working the asteroid belt, and there is a research station on the second planet. Everything appears quiet." Chief Petty Officer Ryan Phillips, the ship's engineer, was checking his instruments at the engineering station. He was the oldest member of the bridge crew at 41, and his experience with ship systems had saved them from trouble more times than Jake could count. "All systems are running smoothly, Commander. Engines are at optimal efficiency, and weapons are ready if we need them." Jake nodded. The Meridian was on a routine patrol of the outer territories, checking on human settlements and watching for any signs of trouble. For the past 6 months, there had been strange reports from ships traveling through this region of space. Pilots talked about seeing unusual energy readings and strange shadows moving between the stars. Most people dismissed these stories as space madness, but Jake had learned to pay attention to such things. "Take us into the system, Lisa. Standard approach vector." "Yes, sir." The Meridian moved gracefully through space, its engines humming quietly. Jake watched the tactical display as they passed the outer planets. The system was typical of many human settlements in this part of the galaxy. Rocky planets closer to the star, gas giants further out, and a rich asteroid belt that provided valuable minerals for the growing human colonies. "Commander," Amy said, her voice suddenly tense. "I am picking up something unusual." Jake moved to her station. "What kind of unusual?" "Energy signatures, sir. Very large ones." They just appeared at the edge of the system. Amy's fingers worked quickly over her controls. "Sir, these readings are unlike anything in our database. The energy output is enormous." "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The viewing screen changed to show the outer edge of the Kepler 442 system. At first there was nothing but empty space and distant stars. Then, as they watched, 3 massive shapes began to emerge from what looked like tiers in space itself. The ships were huge, each one easily 2 kilometers long and covered in strange, angular armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "My God," Lisa whispered. "What are those things?" Jake felt his stomach tighten. He had never seen ships like these before. They were clearly not human, and their size alone made them more dangerous than anything in the human fleet. "Amy, can you get any information about their weapons or defensive systems?" "I am trying, sir, but their technology is unlike anything we have ever encountered. The energy readings are off the charts." Amy's voice was steady, but Jake could hear the worry beneath her professional tone. Ryan looked up from his station. "Commander, those ships are using some kind of advanced propulsion system. The way they came out of that space distortion suggests they have faster-than-light travel capabilities far beyond our own." Before Jake could respond, the communication system crackled to life. A voice filled the bridge, speaking in accented but clear English. The voice was deep and harsh, like metal scraping against stone. "Attention, human vessels. I am Admiral Kelther of the Zephyrian Hegemony. Your species has expanded into territory that rightfully belongs to the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender immediately and prepare for integration into our domain. Jake exchanged glances with his crew. He had never heard of the Zephyrian Hegemony, but their intentions were clear enough. Lisa, open a channel. Channel open, sir. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Earth Fleet. You are in human territory. State your business here. The alien voice laughed, a sound like grinding gears. Human territory? You primitive creatures have been in space for barely 2 centuries. The Zephyrian Hegemony has ruled this galaxy for over 10,000 years. Your expansion ends now. Jake kept his voice calm and steady. We claim this system under the authority of the United Earth government. If you have a territorial dispute, we can arrange for diplomatic talks. There will be no talks, Kelther replied. Your species lacks the wisdom to govern itself, much less claim territory among the stars. You will be absorbed into our empire, where your primitive energies can be properly directed. The communication ended abruptly. Jake turned to Amy. What are they doing? They are moving toward the inner system, sir. Their speed is incredible. At this rate, they will reach the mining stations in less than 2 hours. Jake made a quick decision. Ryan, can we match their speed? Not even close, sir. We can follow them, but we cannot get ahead of them or intercept them before they reach the mining stations. Then we follow and gather as much information as possible. Lisa, send an emergency message to Earth Fleet Command. Tell them we have made contact with a hostile alien force and need immediate reinforcement. Yes, sir. Message sent. Jake watched the tactical display as the 3 alien ships moved deeper into the system. Their formation was perfect, maintaining exact distances from each other as they approached the human settlements. Everything about their movement suggested advanced technology and military discipline. Sir, Amy said quietly, the lead ship is powering up some kind of weapon system. On the main screen, they could see one of the alien vessels turning toward the nearest mining station. A beam of brilliant red energy lanced out from the ship, striking the small human facility. The mining station simply vanished, leaving only a brief flash of light and scattered debris. They just destroyed it, Lisa said, her voice barely above a whisper. There were 15 people on that station. Jake felt anger rise in his chest, but he forced himself to remain calm. Anger would not help his crew or the people in this system. Amy, record everything. Every weapon discharge, every movement pattern, every energy reading. We need to learn everything we can about these ships. Already on it, sir? The alien fleet continued its methodical destruction of human presence in the system. The research station on the second planet was next, followed by 2 more mining facilities. Each attack was swift and precise, leaving no survivors and no chance for escape. Commander, Ryan said, we are receiving a transmission from Earth Fleet. Command, put it through. The voice of Admiral Helen Brooks filled the bridge. Jake, we received your message. How many ships are we dealing with? 3 vessels, Admiral. Each one is approximately 2 kilometers in length. Their weapons technology is far beyond anything we have ever seen. They have already destroyed 4 human installations in this system. Understood. We are assembling a battle group at Proxima Station. I need you to shadow these ships and gather as much tactical information as possible. Do not engage them directly under any circumstances. Yes. Admiral, we will maintain our distance and observe. Jake ended the transmission and looked at his crew. They were all young, all dedicated, and all facing something that was completely beyond their experience. But they were human, and humans had a way of adapting to impossible situations. All right, people, we have our orders. We are going to follow these ships and learn everything we can about them. Stay alert, stay professional, and remember that the information we gather might be the key to saving Earth itself. The Meridian followed the alien fleet as they completed their destruction of human presence in the Kepler 442 system. Jake watched and learned, knowing that the fate of his species might depend on what they discovered in the darkness between the stars. The journey to Proxima Station took 18 hours, and Jake Morrison spent most of that time reviewing the data they had collected about the Zephyrian warships. The information was troubling. The alien vessels moved with perfect coordination. Their weapons could destroy human installations with single shots, and their shields seemed to absorb everything the humans threw at them during the brief skirmishes that had occurred in other systems. Proxima Station was a massive military facility that served as the primary staging area for human fleet operations in the outer territories. As the Meridian approached the station, Jake could see dozens of ships docked at the various ports. Cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels had been hastily assembled from across human space to meet the alien threat. "Docking Bay 7 is ready for us, Commander," Lisa Brown reported from her communications station. She had been unusually quiet during the journey, still shaken by witnessing the destruction of the mining stations. "Take us in, Lisa, nice and easy." The Meridian settled into its assigned docking bay with practiced ease. Jake gathered his senior crew and made his way to the station's main briefing room, where Admiral Helen Brooks was waiting with her staff officers. Admiral Brooks was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen too many battles. She had commanded the Outer Fleet for 8 years and was known throughout the service for her tactical brilliance and her ability to get the best out of her people. "Commander Morrison," she said as Jake entered the room, "I need to hear everything you observed about these Zephyrian ships." Jake took his place at the briefing table, with Amy Carter and Ryan Phillips flanking him. The room was filled with senior officers from across the assembled fleet, all waiting to hear what they were facing. "Admiral, we observed 3 vessels, each approximately 2 kilometers in length," Jake began. "Their weapons appear to be some form of directed energy beam that can completely destroy our installations with a single shot. During our observation period, we saw them eliminate 4 human facilities without any apparent effort." Captain Steve Palmer, commanding officer of the heavy cruiser USS Defiant, leaned forward. He was a tall man with a reputation for aggressive tactics. "What about their defenses? Did you observe any weaknesses?" Amy Carter spoke up. "Sir, we detected what appeared to be energy shields surrounding each vessel. During the engagement at the Tau Ceti system yesterday, human forces fired several nuclear torpedoes at the lead ship. The shields absorbed the impacts without any visible damage. Their armor also appears to be extremely advanced," Ryan Phillips added. "The hull composition is unlike anything in our database. It seems to absorb energy rather than reflect it, which makes them very difficult to target effectively." Admiral Brooks studied the tactical display showing the alien ship configurations. "What about their movement patterns? Any tactical weaknesses there?" Jake had been thinking about this question during the entire journey to Proxima Station. "Admiral, they move in perfect formation at all times. Their coordination is flawless, almost like they are controlled by a single mind. But that might also be a weakness." "How so?" "They follow very rigid patterns. When they approach a target, they always use the same formation. When they attack, they always position themselves in the same way. Their tactics are extremely effective, but they do not seem to adapt or change based on circumstances." Captain Palmer shook his head. "That does not help us much if we cannot hurt them." "Commander Morrison, what you are describing sounds like an enemy that outclasses us in every way. Maybe we should consider negotiating with them." Jake felt a flash of anger. "Captain, these beings destroyed 4 human installations without warning. 15 people died at the first mining station alone. They made it clear they consider us primitive and intend to absorb us into their empire. Sometimes we have to accept reality, Commander. If they are that much more advanced than us, maybe resistance is pointless." Admiral Brooks held up a hand to stop the argument. "Gentlemen, we are here to find solutions, not to debate surrender." "Commander Morrison, continue with your observations." Jake took a deep breath. "Admiral, there's something else. During our observation, I noticed that their ships rely heavily on sensors and computer systems. Every movement, every decision seems to be guided by their technology. I never saw any indication of individual initiative or creative thinking." "What are you suggesting?" "I am not sure yet, but I think their greatest strength might also be their greatest weakness. They are so dependent on their advanced technology that they might not know how to handle situations that their computers cannot predict. Ryan Phillips nodded. Commander Morrison is right, Admiral. I have been analyzing their engine signatures and communication patterns. Everything is perfectly synchronized, perfectly calculated. But human tactics are often based on intuition and creativity, things that are hard to program into a computer. Admiral Brooks looked thoughtful. Even if that is true, we still have the problem of their superior weapons and defenses. How do we get close enough to exploit any weaknesses they might have? Jake had been thinking about this problem as well. Admiral, what if we do not try to fight them directly? What if we use tactics that are designed to confuse their systems rather than destroy their ships? Explain. Our ships are much smaller and faster than theirs. We could use that mobility to create situations their computers are not programmed to handle. If we can disrupt their coordination, we might be able to level the playing field. Captain Palmer looked skeptical. Commander, you are talking about taking on ships that are 10 times our size with weapons we cannot even scratch. That sounds like suicide. Maybe not, Amy Carter said quietly. Captain, during our observation, we noticed that their formation breaks down slightly when they encounter unexpected situations. When a small asteroid drifted into their path, there was a brief delay before they adjusted their course. A delay of maybe 2 seconds, Palmer replied. That is hardly enough time to mount an attack. It might be enough time to create confusion, Jake said. If we can force them to deal with multiple unexpected situations at once, their coordination might break down long enough for us to exploit it. Admiral Brooks studied the tactical projections. What kind of unexpected situations? Ryan Phillips spoke up. Admiral, our ships carry emergency mining equipment for asteroid operations. These systems include powerful electromagnetic pulse generators that are designed to break up space debris. If we modified these systems, we might be able to create electronic interference that could disrupt their sensors. That is an interesting idea, the Admiral said. But would it be enough to give us a real advantage? Jake leaned forward. Admiral, I do not think we can beat them in a straight fight. But I think we can beat them by refusing to fight the way they expect us to fight. Every military computer in the galaxy is programmed to handle conventional tactics. But humans do not always use conventional tactics. What are you proposing? Specifically? I propose we use our mobility and unpredictability to create chaos in their formation. We hit them with electronic warfare to disrupt their sensors, use decoy signals to confuse their targeting systems, and force them to react to situations their computers cannot predict. Captain Palmer still looked doubtful. Commander, you are asking us to bet the lives of our crews on the theory that these aliens cannot adapt to unexpected situations. Captain, I am asking us to bet our lives on the one thing that has always made humans successful in dangerous situations. Our ability to think creatively and adapt to changing circumstances. Admiral Brooks was quiet for a long moment, studying the data displays and considering the options. Finally, she spoke. Commander Morrison, I am going to authorize your plan, but I want detailed preparations. Every ship in this fleet needs to understand exactly what we are trying to accomplish. Yes, Admiral. Captain Palmer, I know you have concerns, but I need you to coordinate the electronic warfare modifications with Chief Phillips. If we are going to try this, we need every advantage we can get. Palmer nodded reluctantly. Yes, Admiral. I will do my best. Over the next 12 hours, the human fleet worked frantically to prepare for the unconventional battle ahead. Engineering. Teams modified mining equipment to create electromagnetic pulse weapons. Communications specialists developed systems to generate false sensor readings. Tactical officers practiced complex maneuvers, designed to confuse enemy computers rather than destroy enemy ships. Jake found himself working closely with officers from across the fleet, sharing his observations and helping to develop strategies that no military academy had ever taught. The plan was risky, perhaps even desperate, but it was uniquely human in its creativity and willingness to try something completely different. As the fleet prepared to depart Proxima Station, Jake stood on the bridge of the Meridian and looked out at the assembled ships. They were smaller than the alien vessels, less advanced, and certainly less powerful. But they were crewed by humans who could think and adapt and refused to give up even when facing impossible odds. "All ships report ready, Commander," Lisa Brown announced. "Then let us go show these aliens what humans can do when we put our minds to it," Jake replied. The Vega system was quiet when the human fleet arrived. Too quiet. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Meridian, watching the tactical display as 12 human ships took their positions. The Zephyrian fleet was still 6 hours away, but their energy signatures were already visible on long-range sensors. "All ships are in position, Commander," Lisa Brown reported. Her voice was steady now, the fear from their first encounter replaced by determination. The entire crew had spent the journey from Proxima Station preparing for this moment. "Excellent. Amy, what do we know about their approach vector?" Lieutenant Amy Carter studied her instruments. "They are coming in the same formation as before, sir. 3 ships in a perfect triangle pattern, maintaining exact distances from each other. Their speed is constant, and they are heading directly for the main shipping lanes." Jake nodded. The aliens were predictable, just as he had hoped. "Ryan, are all the electronic warfare systems ready?" Chief Petty Officer Ryan Phillips checked his modified engineering controls. "All ships report their EMP generators are online, sir. The decoy signal projectors are also ready to deploy." "Good, now we wait for them to get close enough." The waiting was the hardest part. Jake had developed a battle plan that required precise timing and perfect coordination among the human ships. Unlike the aliens, who relied on their computers to maintain formation, the humans would need to work together through communication and trust. Captain Steve Palmer's voice came over the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Defiant. The enemy fleet has entered the outer system. They will be in range in 2 hours." Jake opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Morrison. Remember, we are not trying to destroy these ships. We are trying to confuse them and disrupt their coordination. Stay flexible and be ready to adapt if the situation changes." The response came from Captain LaVaugh Mitchell, commanding the destroyer. USS Ranger. She was known for her quick thinking and aggressive tactics. "Understood, Commander. My ships are ready to create some chaos." As the alien fleet approached, Jake could see them clearly on the main display. The 3 massive vessels moved through space like a force of nature, their dark hulls absorbing the light from nearby stars. They were beautiful in their own way, but they represented everything that was wrong with depending too much on technology. "Sir," Amy said, "they are scanning the system. Their sensors are incredibly powerful. They probably know exactly where. That is fine. We want them to see us. The question is whether they will see us as we really are or as we want them to see us." Jake activated his communication system. "Lavra, it is time for Phase 1. Copy that, Commander." Beginning. Decoy deployment now. Captain Mitchell's destroyer group began releasing modified sensor buoys throughout the system. These devices had been programmed to generate false energy, signatures that would appear on alien sensors as additional human ships within minutes. What looked like a fleet of 12 vessels had grown to appear like a fleet of over 30. The effect on the alien formation was immediate. The 3 Zephyrian ships slowed their approach and began to spread out, trying to position themselves to deal with what their sensors told them was a much larger human force. "It is working," Amy said excitedly. "Their formation is becoming less tight. They are trying to cover more space." Jake watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The aliens were reacting exactly as their programming told them to react when faced with a larger enemy force. But the larger enemy force did not actually exist. "Ryan, are you ready for the EMP burst?" "Ready, sir. All ships are synchronized and waiting for your signal." Jake waited until the alien ships were exactly where he wanted them. The Zephyrian vessels had spread out to cover the false fleet signatures, which meant they were no longer in their perfect protective formation. "All ships, execute EMP burst now." Across the human fleet, modified mining equipment unleashed powerful electromagnetic pulses. The energy waves spread out through space, invisible to the naked eye but devastating to sensitive electronic systems. The effect on the alien ships was dramatic. Their perfect coordination suddenly faltered as their sensor systems struggled to process the electromagnetic interference. The lead ship veered slightly to the left, while the other two maintained their previous course. Direct hit on their sensors? Amy reported they are having trouble maintaining formation. Jake opened a channel to Captain Palmer. Steve, take your cruiser group and hit them from the right flank. Do not try to destroy them, just keep them confused. Copy that, Commander, moving to attack position. The heavy cruiser USS Defiant led a group of 4 ships in a high-speed approach toward the alien formation. Instead of firing their main weapons, they released a barrage of sensor chaff and electronic countermeasures designed to further confuse the Zephyrian targeting systems. Admiral Kelther's voice suddenly filled the communication channels, speaking in his harsh, mechanical tone. Human vessels, your primitive tricks will not save you. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift. Jake responded immediately. Admiral, we are just getting started. You might want to check your sensors again. While the alien commander was speaking, Captain Mitchell had positioned her ships to create an even more elaborate deception. Using their mining equipment, the human vessels began generating energy signatures that matched the aliens' own weapon systems. To the Zephyrian sensors, it would appear as if human ships were firing alien weapons. The confusion in the alien formation became even more pronounced. The 3 massive ships began to turn toward what they thought were enemy vessels using their own technology, but the signals were coming from empty space. This is incredible, Lisa said, watching the tactical display. They are trying to target ghosts. Jake smiled grimly. That is the problem with relying too much on computers. They can only respond to what they are programmed to understand. The battle continued for another hour, with the human fleet creating increasingly complex deceptions. Every time the aliens seemed to adapt to one trick, the humans would switch to something completely different. Captain Mitchell's ships would create false sensor readings in one area, while Captain Palmer's cruisers would jam communications in another. The key moment came when Jake realized the aliens were trying to regroup. The 3 ships had been confused by the human tactics, but their artificial intelligence systems were beginning to analyze the patterns and adapt. Amy, can you target their communication systems? I think so, sir. Their quantum communication array is heavily shielded, but if we can get close enough... Do it, Ryan. Give me everything the engines have got. The Meridian shot forward at maximum speed, heading directly for the alien flagship. Jake knew this was incredibly dangerous, but it was also their best chance to really disrupt the enemy coordination. Sir, they are targeting us, Amy warned. Multiple weapon systems are locking. Onto our position. Stay on course, trust the plan. As the Meridian approached the massive alien vessel, Jake ordered the release of every piece of electronic warfare equipment they had. EMP generators, sensor jammers, and signal disruptors all activated at once, creating a storm of electromagnetic interference around the alien ship. The effect was even better than Jake had hoped. The alien flagship's communication system went completely offline, cutting it off from the other 2 vessels. Without their quantum communication link, the 3 ships were suddenly operating independently for the first time in the battle. It worked, Amy shouted. They cannot communicate with each other anymore? Jake watched as the alien formation completely fell apart. The 3 ships were now operating on their individual programming, without the coordinated intelligence that had made them so dangerous. They began to move in different directions, each one trying to deal with the threats its sensors were detecting. All ships, this is Morrison. The alien coordination is broken. Now we press our advantage. Continue the electronic warfare, but be ready to withdraw if they adapt. The human fleet continued their campaign of confusion and deception. Without their ability to coordinate, the alien ships became increasingly erratic in their movements. They would fire at sensor ghosts, change course to avoid threats that did not exist, and waste energy on defensive maneuvers that served no purpose. Captain Palmer's voice came over the communication system. Commander, I have to admit I was wrong. About your plan. This is actually working. Jake allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Steve, we are not done yet. These aliens are smart, and they will eventually figure out what we are doing. But for now, we have them exactly where we want them. The battle in the Vega system continued, with human creativity and adaptability proving more effective than advanced alien technology. For the first time since the conflict began, the Zephyrian hegemony was learning that there were some things that could not be programmed into a computer. The battle had been going on for 4 hours, and Jake Morrison could see that the alien ships were beginning to adapt. The 3 massive Zephyrian vessels were no longer operating with their perfect coordination, but their individual artificial intelligence systems were learning from each encounter with human deception tactics. Commander, Amy Carter reported from her tactical station. The lead alien ship is no longer responding to our false sensor readings. It seems to have identified our decoy patterns. Jake studied the tactical display on the main screen. The alien flagship was indeed moving with more purpose now, ignoring the fake energy signatures that had confused it earlier. The other 2 ships were still struggling with the electronic interference, but Jake knew it would not be long before they adapted as well. Ryan, how much power do we have left for the EMP generators? Chief Petty Officer Ryan Phillips checked his instruments. About 30%, sir. We have been running them almost continuously, and the power cells are getting low. Jake made a quick decision. All ships, this is Morrison. We need to change tactics before they figure out all our tricks. Lava, I need your ships to try something different. Captain LeVar Mitchell's voice came over the communication system from the destroyer USS Ranger. What do you have in mind, Commander? I want you to plant actual charges on their hull. Not to destroy them, but to disrupt their quantum communication systems permanently? There was a moment of silence before Lava responded. Commander, that means getting close enough to actually touch those ships. Our shields might not protect us at that range. I know it is dangerous, but it might be our only chance to keep them from coordinating again. If they regain their formation, discipline, we will not be able to confuse them anymore. Jake knew he was asking a lot from his fellow officers. The plan would require incredible precision and courage, as human ships would need to get within a few hundred meters of the alien vessels while avoiding their defensive weapons. I will do it, Lava said without hesitation. My ship is fast enough to make the approach. Negative, Lavra. This is too dangerous for one ship. I am going to take the Meridian and plant charges on the flagship while you and your ships handle the other 2 vessels. Amy looked up from her station with concern. Sir, the flagship has the heaviest defenses. If anyone should take that target, it should be someone with more firepower. Jake shook his head. Amy, this is not about firepower. This is about getting close enough to plant the charges without being detected. The Meridian is small and fast, and we know more about their sensor systems than anyone else. Ryan Phillips was already preparing the necessary equipment. Commander, I have modified some of our mining charges to target their quantum communication nodes, but we will need to get within 200 meters to place them accurately. Can we get that close without being detected? If we approach during one of our EMP bursts, their sensors will be disrupted long enough for us to get in close, but we will only have about 90 seconds before their systems recover. Jake opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Morrison. We are going to attempt a close-range sabotage mission. I need everyone to coordinate one final, massive electronic warfare attack to cover our approach. Captain Steve Palmer's voice came over the communication system. Commander, my cruisers can provide covering fire to keep their attention focused elsewhere. Good thinking, Steve, but remember, we do not want to actually damage them too much. We just want to keep them distracted. The next few minutes were spent coordinating the most complex maneuver the human fleet had ever attempted. Every ship would need to work together with perfect timing to create enough confusion for the sabotage mission to succeed. Jake took his position on the bridge as the Meridian prepared for its dangerous approach. Lisa Brown was monitoring all Communication channels ready to coordinate with the other ships? Amy Carter had her weapons ready, not to attack the aliens, but to provide additional electronic interference. Ryan Phillips was in the engineering section, preparing the modified charges that would hopefully disable the alien communication systems. All ships report ready, Commander, Lisa announced. Execute electronic warfare barrage now. Across the human fleet, every available EMP generator activated simultaneously. The electromagnetic storm that resulted was the most powerful they had created during the entire battle. The alien ships immediately began to show signs of confusion as their sensors were overwhelmed by the interference. Now, Lisa, take us in fast and quiet. The Meridian shot forward at maximum speed, heading directly for the massive alien flagship. Jake watched the distance countdown on his tactical display as they closed in on the 2-kilometer-long vessel. The ship's dark hull grew larger and larger on the main screen until it filled their entire view. 50 meters and closing, Amy reported. Their defensive systems are still offline. Ryan, are you ready with those charges? Ready, sir. I just need another 30 seconds to position them correctly. Jake held his breath as the Meridian maneuvered along the alien hull. The ship was so massive that it was like flying next to a moving mountain. Strange markings and technological systems covered the surface, all of it completely unlike anything human engineers had ever designed. Charges placed, Ryan announced. We need to get clear before their sensors come back online. Full? Reverse, Lisa. Get us away from here. The Meridian pulled away from the alien flagship just as its sensor systems began to recover from the electromagnetic interference. Jake watched the tactical display as similar scenes played out with Captain Mitchell's ships and the other two alien vessels. Lavra, what is your status? Charges placed on the second ship, Commander. Moving to the third target now. Jake watched anxiously as the destroyer USS Ranger made its approach to the final alien vessel. This ship seemed to be adapting faster than the others, and its defensive systems were already beginning to track the approaching human ship. Lavar, you have got incoming fire. Get out of there. Almost finished, Commander. Just need a few more seconds. Red energy beams lanced out from the alien ship, barely missing the Ranger as it completed its mission. Captain Mitchell pulled her ship away at the last possible moment, leaving the final charges in place. All charges planted, she reported. When do we detonate them? Jake looked at the tactical display. The three alien ships were beginning to move closer together again, trying to re-establish their coordination despite the communication disruption. If the humans were going to act, it had to be now. All ships prepare for simultaneous detonation. This needs to happen at exactly the same moment, or they might be able to compensate. Ryan Phillips coordinated with the engineering teams on the other ships to synchronize the detonation sequence. Ready for detonation, Commander. All charges are synchronized. Execute. The explosions were small but precisely placed. Rather than trying to destroy the massive alien ships, the charges were designed to create cascade failures in their quantum communication systems. Brilliant flashes of light erupted from all three vessels as their communication arrays overloaded. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The three alien ships, which had been slowly working to re-establish their coordination, suddenly began moving in completely different directions. Without their quantum communication link, they were truly operating independently for the first time in the battle. It worked, Amy said with excitement. They cannot talk to each other at all now. Jake watched as the alien formation completely collapsed. The lead ship began moving toward what it thought was the largest concentration of human vessels. The second ship started attacking empty space where its sensors detected false energy readings. The third ship simply stopped moving altogether. Apparently unable to decide which target to engage, Admiral Kelther's voice filled the communication channels, but it was coming only from the flagship now. The other two ships were no longer receiving his commands. Humans, your interference with our systems will not save you. Even without coordination, each of our vessels is more than capable of destroying your entire fleet. Jake responded immediately. Admiral, you might want to look around. Your ships are attacking empty space and chasing ghosts. Maybe your technology is not as perfect as you thought. As if to prove Jake's point, one of the alien ships fired its main weapon at a sensor decoy, wasting enormous amounts of energy on a target that did not exist. The other ship was moving in a wide circle, apparently confused by the conflicting information its sensors were providing. "This is our chance," Jake announced to the fleet. "They are confused and isolated. Continue the electronic warfare, but focus on keeping them separated. As long as they cannot work together, we can handle them." The human fleet pressed their advantage, using their superior coordination and creativity to keep the alien ships confused and isolated. For the first time since the conflict began, the technological superiority of the Zephyrian hegemony was working against them rather than for them. Jake allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as he watched the battle unfold. Human ingenuity had once again found a way to overcome seemingly impossible odds, proving that sometimes the most advanced technology could be defeated by simple creativity and determination. The battle had reached its most critical moment. Admiral Kelther, isolated aboard his flagship with no way to communicate with his other vessels, made a decision that would determine the fate of both fleets. Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the Meridian as the massive alien ship began to change course, heading directly toward the center of the human formation. "He is making a final attack run," Amy Carter announced from her tactical station. "All weapon systems on the flagship are powering up to maximum levels." Jake realized what the alien commander was planning. Unable to coordinate with his other ships, Kelther was attempting to destroy the human fleet through sheer firepower. It was a desperate move, but it might work if the humans could not find a way to stop him. "All ships, this is Morrison. The alien flagship is making a direct attack. We need to use everything we have learned to stop this final assault." Captain Steve Palmer's voice came over the communication system. "Commander, our weapons still cannot penetrate their shields. How do we stop something that powerful?" Jake studied the tactical display, watching the massive alien ship approach. During the hours of battle, he had learned something important about the Zephyrian vessels. They were incredibly powerful, but they were also predictable. Even now, facing defeat, the alien commander was following a standard tactical protocol. "Steve, I do not think we need to destroy his ship. I think we can make him destroy himself." "What do you mean?" Jake opened a channel to the entire fleet. "Listen carefully, everyone. We are going to create the most complex sensor maze we have ever attempted. I want false targets, energy decoys, and electromagnetic interference coming from every direction. But this time, we are going to make the alien ship think it is surrounded by its own vessels." Captain LeVar Mitchell responded immediately. "Commander, you want to trick him into firing on his own ships?" "Exactly. Their weapons are powerful enough to damage even their own shields. If we can confuse his targeting systems enough, he might hit his own vessels while trying to hit us." Ryan Phillips checked his instruments. "Sir, we have enough power left for one final massive electronic warfare barrage. But after this, our EMP generators will be completely drained." "Then we better make it count. Ryan, I need you to coordinate with all the other engineering teams. We need to create energy signatures that exactly match the other two alien ships." The next few minutes were a frantic race against time. The alien flagship was approaching rapidly, its weapons charging for what would certainly be a devastating attack. Meanwhile, the human fleet worked desperately to prepare their final deception. "All ships report ready, Commander," Lisa Brown announced. "The decoy systems are synchronized and ready to deploy." Jake watched the tactical display as the alien flagship moved into the perfect position. The other two Zephyrian ships were still wandering aimlessly, confused by the earlier electronic warfare attacks and unable to receive orders from their commander. "Execute the sensor maze now." Across the human fleet, every remaining piece of electronic warfare equipment activated simultaneously. The space around the alien flagship suddenly filled with false energy signatures, sensor ghosts, and electromagnetic interference. But this time, the signals were carefully designed to match the specific characteristics of Zephyrian technology The effect on the alien ship was immediate. Its targeting systems, already damaged by hours of electronic warfare, began detecting what appeared to be enemy vessels using Zephyrian technology. To the flagship's computers, it looked like human ships had somehow acquired alien weapons and were surrounding the vessel. "It is working," Amy reported excitedly. "The flagship is trying to target the false signatures." Jake opened a direct communication channel to the alien commander. "Admiral Kelther, this is Commander Morrison. Your ships are firing on each other. Call off your attack before you destroy your own fleet?" The alien commander's voice was filled with rage and confusion. "Impossible. Human technology cannot create such deceptions. Our sensors cannot be fooled by primitive tricks. Look at your displays, Admiral. Your targeting computers are showing Zephyrian energy signatures because that is exactly what we are feeding them." Jake watched as the alien flagship's weapons began to track the false targets. The ship's artificial intelligence was trying to engage what it thought were enemy vessels using stolen Zephyrian technology, but the false targets were positioned so that any shot fired at them would hit one of the other two alien ships instead. "Admiral, you have about 30 seconds before your ship automatically fires on those targets. If you want to save your other vessels, you need to power down your weapons now." There was a long moment of silence as Kelther apparently studied his own sensor readings. Jake could imagine the alien commander's confusion as his advanced technology told him that human ships were somehow generating perfect copies of Zephyrian energy signatures. "This is not possible," Kelther finally said. "Our technology is superior to yours in every way." "Your technology is incredibly advanced, Admiral, but it can only respond to situations it was programmed to handle. Human creativity can create situations that no computer has ever been programmed for." The alien flagship's weapons continued to track the false targets, moving closer and closer to firing position. Jake realized that the ship's artificial intelligence might fire automatically, regardless of what the commander wanted. "Admiral, your ship is about to fire on your own vessels. If you do not shut down your weapons in the next 10 seconds, you are going to destroy the other two ships in your fleet?" Captain Palma's voice came over the communication system. "Commander, the alien flagship's main weapon is almost at full charge. He's going to fire any second now." Jake made one final attempt to reach the alien commander. "Admiral Kelther, look at your tactical display. Really look at it. Those targets your ship wants to fire on are in the exact same positions as your other two vessels. We have not moved your ships. We have only made our ships invisible to your sensors while creating false targets where your real ships are located." There was another moment of silence, and then Jake heard something he had never expected to hear from the alien commander. "Uncertainty. How did you accomplish this deception?" "The same way humans have always solved impossible problems, Admiral. We refused to accept that something could not be done, and we found a creative solution." The alien flagship's weapons were now fully charged and ready to fire. Jake held his breath as he waited to see what Kelther would do. The alien commander could fire and destroy his own ships, or he could admit that human creativity had defeated Zephyrian technology. "All ships, power down weapons," Kelther's voice finally commanded. "Cease all offensive operations." Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him as the alien flagship's weapons powered down. Around the battlefield, the other two Zephyrian ships also began to reduce their energy output, responding to their commander's transmitted orders. "Admiral," Jake said, "you made the right choice." "Commander Morrison, I do not understand how your species accomplished this victory. Our technology should have been superior to yours in every measurable way." Jake smiled as he looked around his bridge at his crew. Lisa Brown was grinning with relief. Amy Carter was shaking her head in amazement at what they had accomplished. Ryan Phillips was already starting to shut down the overloaded electronic warfare systems. "Admiral, your technology is superior to ours. Your ships are bigger, your weapons are more powerful, and your computers are more advanced than anything we have. But you made one critical mistake." "What mistake?" "You assumed that having better technology meant you would automatically win. But technology is just a tool. The real advantage in any conflict comes from the people using that tool. Your species has become so dependent on your computers that you have forgotten how to think creatively when your programming does not have an answer. There was a long pause before Keltha responded. You are saying that your victory came not from superior technology, but from superior thinking? Exactly. Humans do not always have the best equipment or the most advanced weapons. But we have something that cannot be programmed into any computer. We have the ability to look at an impossible situation and find a solution that no one has ever tried before. Jake could hear what sounded like genuine respect in the alien commander's voice when he spoke again. Commander Morrison, the Zephyrian hegemony has conquered dozens of star systems over the past 1,000 years. In every case, we succeeded because our technology was superior to our enemies. This is the first time we have encountered a species that could defeat us without having better weapons or ships. What will you do now, Admiral? I will return to Zephyrian space and report to the High Command that humanity possesses a form of strategic intelligence that our computers cannot predict or counter. I believe this will lead to a reconsideration of our expansion plans in this region of the galaxy. Jake opened a channel to the entire human fleet. All ships, this is Morrison. The alien fleet is withdrawing. The battle is over, and we have won. The cheers that filled the communication channels came from every ship in the human fleet. They had faced an enemy with vastly superior technology, and found a way to win through creativity, courage, and the uniquely human refusal to accept defeat.